They are not biological women.
You're playing this radical collectivist left-wing game.
Growing accusations of transphobia.
We are made in the image of our Creator.
What about this person isn't a lady? Well, his penis.
These people are beyond parody. They've turned reality into a parody of itself. So
this is a weapon for a very authoritarian, very intolerant set of attitudes masquerading as compassion.
No, I love the new women. I know the new women. They're great, aren't they? You know, the new ones we've been seeing lately. The ones with beards and cocks. They're as good as gold. I love them.
Non-binary, genderfuck, genderqueer, agender, grey gender, genderless.
According to the Government Equalities Office, there are between 200,000 and 500,000 transgender people living in the UK. But despite having a population comparable to that of Edinburgh, many people still don't know about transgender issues or even what transgender means. The UK government describes transgender as an umbrella term used to describe people who have a different gender identity than the sex recorded at birth. This might lead to gender dysphoria or incongruence. But it's easy to read a definition from Google. How many people actually know what it means to be transgender? We went into Newcastle to see how much the general public really knows. How would you define the term transgender?
You know what? No, I don't really know. It's something that I don't watch enough stuff on, so I'm not really sure everything about it. But
define the term transgender. It's someone who has changed from being a man to a woman or a woman to a man.
It's the transitioning from one gender to the other.
Officers are nice, they're just people who are born with the wrong body, and they can't understand if they're a girl or they're a woman. If they're going with a man, let them fly like a butterfly.
Is that where they change into a different person? Oh, I've got no against that, me. It's their life, you know what I mean? It's up to them what they'll do.
And how educated would you say you are on trans issues and trans people as a whole?
Yeah, pretty much good.
Tell them out. Nothing, not a thing.
I'd say relatively confident. There's a lot of talk about it on social media and that, which really helps. But it's not very common in the likes of education and stuff like that.
I know there's a lot of stuff in the news saying that trans people should be getting is it estrogen or something like that? Yeah, they should be getting what they need, but then the government's not letting them, all that kind of stuff. But that's all I really know.
It seems we have a mixed bag. Let's dig a little bit deeper. According to a questionnaire we ran with over 70 participants, it seems that most people we asked knew the general idea of what it means to be transgender, but not much more. So I sat down with 4 transgender teenagers to try and get their experience firsthand.
Yeah, my name is Connor. Go by any pronouns.
Hi, Riley. Either neutral or feminine, either ones.
I'm Alex. I use he, they. I'm also experimenting around with it's, but I do prefer he, him, to be honest.
Well, my name is Boyd Eastick. I use most pronouns, to be honest. Pretty much anything bar she, her. And in terms of when I found out that I wasn't cis, I actually realised in about year 8, I think. But looking back on it, there was signs of it from a lot younger than what I thought.
I'd say probably about year 8 was when I kind of had some idea, but it didn't really go forward because people were just like, wait a few years, see if you still feel like that. And it was usually about year 10 when I kind of was like, yeah, no, something's not right.
Realised I was trans in late 2020 and then early 2021. Because I started to experiment with different pronouns, and then I eventually started using different names and removed the she, her bit, which I later added back on. But
as of recent, there's been a lot of buzz in the news about transgender people, with lots of people's only knowledge coming from extremely anti-trans rhetoric. What a lot of people don't know is how harmful this mindset can truly be. I asked our interviewees how they feel about society's view on transgender people, as well as how the government treats them.
By society, it's not as bad by the government because with society, quite a lot of people, statistics have shown, quite a lot of people are more in favour for trans rights and stuff, which is obviously a positive. When it comes to the government, the people who are currently in charge aren't doing enough, I would say, because there's a lot of like stuff like hate crimes and stuff that happen, and there's not enough done about it, in my opinion.
I think it's, I feel quite horrible about how they're treated, because like especially recently with like all the stuff being like can't medically transition, it's child abuse apparently, and like it's just not really there in the UK or the US or anywhere really. It's quite frowned upon.
From what I've heard from peers and who have, coin toss. Coin toss is what I would say. I don't really keep up with the news.
There is still a lot of work to be done, especially in the public eye, especially with trans women and non-binary people, because a lot of people still think the idea of people using non-binary pronouns is silly or weird.
According to Stonewall UK, around 41% and 31% respectively of trans and non-binary people had experienced a hate crime or an incident because of their gender identity. More than a quarter of all trans people in a relationship have faced intimate partner violence within the last year, and 2 in 5 trans people adjust the way they dress out of fear of discrimination, violence or harassment. But what can we do to make life easier for trans people, particularly trans youth who are so vulnerable to abuse, discrimination and harassment? We asked our interviewees what they think we could improve on.
I think we could like start with like letting people medically transition from like an earlier age and like getting therapy, because like people aren't really allowed estrogen or testosterone, because like you have to like make sure you like know for like 2 years.
For starters, I think maybe educating like actual lecturers and teachers and stuff would be beneficial, because when I was in secondary, for example, quite a lot of my teachers didn't understand and would actually generally refuse to actually accept who I was, to the point that generally I wasn't able to do certain activities anymore because my teachers wouldn't support me. So it was just like, maybe educating them would be a good start point.
Like it's with it being fairly new, people are still trying to get used to it, you know, people are still very worried, they don't know like anything about it basically. So probably should put more material and resources out there.
I think while like saying that, like, you know how with women period products are a lot more available now, like you can go to the college and just ask and you get some. I feel like in a way there should be a kind of service for that in terms of trans people, and like if you would ask the college for a binder or anything along those lines, there should be a way that the college should be able to provide something like that.
And of course, there is support out there. We sat down with Humankind, a charity dedicated to improving the lives of trans youth in the North East, to see what they could provide and how we could help trans people.
Hi, I'm Jo Davies and I'm the lead practitioner on the LGBT service.
I'm Tiggy, my pronouns are they, them, and I'm a support coordinator with the LGBT service in Durham. I've been with the service for just over a year full time, and before that I started as a volunteer. So I started off volunteering, helping out with Jo's groups. It was during lockdown. I was sat at home, nothing to do. I was previously working in hospitality and then that all closed obviously. So I was sat there wondering, what can I do in the world which will actually make a difference, basically. So found your groups when I went searching for it, came along. And absolutely loved it, really connected with all the young people and just felt like this was the place for me. And then a full-time position came up and I went for it. So I've been doing this for a year now, supporting young people one-to-one. And also now I've taken over the group as well. So that's sort of my entry into it.
Humankind is a national charity. It was formerly known as DISC and it was quite small, but we've rebranded. We're now Humankind and we're a big national charity. So Humankind are predominantly substance misuse and drugs and alcohol services, but we do have other services that we offer. So we are part of what you call community services, and the LGBT service has been going for quite a long time, a few years before I started, and I'm approaching 9 years of working for the organisation this year. So the LGBT service was founded by a worker that worked here on a different service, then identified the need and sourced some funding to run that service. And it started as quite a small service in Durham, in the Durham area. So this is where the Durham service is our longer running service. And then it's just grown and grown. So we've now got services in Durham, South Tyneside, Newcastle, Gateshead. We've got a full-time trainer that covers anywhere, anybody that wants any training. And we have an adult, trans and non-binary service that covers Tyne and Wear.
So yeah, our service offers one-to-one support for young people. The Durham service works with young people aged 11 up to 25. So we have like one-to-one support. We've got a peer support group as well, which is really important to them, so they feel like just a bit less isolated and get to meet other young trans people. Yeah, and then we have like family support as well as another part of what we offer, so helping like talking to families and helping them to understand.
And then I think access to hate crime reporting, like easier routes to report hate crimes. And there's probably quite a few other things, but it's like every person that we work with will have different struggles, so there'll be something that's important to that person, and it might not be so important to another person that we work with. So, but I definitely think that the two that we see come across is the access to the medical care, access to hate crime reporting, and access to mental health support, but with a mental health practitioner that understands issues related to gender identity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We get a lot of referrals, don't we, from mental health services, purely because they didn't know how to talk to a trans person.
And finally, I asked Joe and Tiggy if they had any advice for trans youth who may be struggling at the moment.
Just don't do it on your own. There is services out there that can offer support. So find a service and access support from a service and meet other young people that are going through the same struggles.
Yeah, definitely. I think finding community is really, really important. Yeah, so if you can find other trans people in your life, like, yeah, that definitely makes things easier.